lecture for you guys. My name is Brandon Thornton. I am a independent product designer, so I have like different clients and stuff from all over, mostly based in California. But yeah, I'm an independent product designer here in Atlanta. Um, I'm actually from Mississippi, and I moved to Atlanta because there's pretty much no tech scene in Mississippi. And so, yeah, I moved to Atlanta to kind of get into the tech scene here. And yeah, I've had the chance to connect with different companies and whatnot. Um, yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much just an overall product designer. So mostly I work on mobile products. So iOS, Android. I do some web stuff, but mostly all just mobile and whatnot. I'm also always available to answer any questions that you guys may have, like about the field or anything that we go over in any of the lectures. Like don't be shy or anything. Feel free to ping me. I'm always more than happy to answer any questions that I can. And if I don't know the answers, I will definitely try my best to find them out. But yeah, that's just a brief little intro about myself. So today we're going to be going over paper prototyping. So I know you guys have been doing a lot with kind of the research side of things. And so today is kind of like your first miniature dive into like the actual design parts. And so the first part that we'll get into is just paper prototyping. So essentially what paper prototyping is, on the basic level, it's literally exactly how it sounds. It's creating different prototypes using a paper and pen. But of course, those aren't the only ways to create paper prototypes. They've become pretty popular over the last few years. And so now you actually have digital tools that you can use to kind of create quick little prototype sketches. You can use like an iPad now, or any type of tablet to just kind of quickly sketch out a design screen. There are also other tools that you can use, such as Marvel app. inVision also has a way that you can create paper prototypes, which I'll actually show you guys a little bit later on, how to create one using inVision, just because it's kind of hard to show paper and pen digitally, like me actually drawing and then just trying to show it on the camera can be a little awkward. So yeah, I'll try to do it digitally and just kind of, we'll go through it that way. But yeah, paper prototyping itself, it's gotten really popular lately, to the point where like now people have actual like stencils for it. They'll have like actual like little paper mock-up devices of like an iPad or an iPhone or any type of phone screen. So it's pretty cool to see where it's gone. And some people actually get super into paper prototypes to the point where they actually take it a step further and use like scissors and stuff like that. And they cut out different areas of the prototype and actually make it move a little bit. Like it's weird that you can do all of that with just like, a pen and paper, or, like marker and paper. But the advantage of paper prototyping is that it's fast. It's fast and you can do it early without the worries of diving into a digital design tool. So before you get into Sketch or Figma, whichever, design tool that you're using, or whichever design tool that you prefer, paper prototyping is kind of a way that you can just, sketch out a quick idea. So you can sketch out a quick idea or a quick flow that you'd like to test before you actually move on to any type of design tool. It's also inexpensive. It's literally just paper and pen, and it can be any kind of paper, just regular printer paper, construction paper. There are actual like sketch notebooks. I actually keep one with me. I actually have a small one and a big one. I have I try to use like grid paper. It's easier to kind of, you know, create different shapes and stuff for screens. But yeah, I mean, it's inexpensive. It's much cheaper to get one of those than it is to actually pay for some of the design tools out there. Not counting Figma, because Figma is actually free. You can also get really creative with paper prototypes. So you can allow yourself to kind of be more creative with a paper prototype than you will in a design tool, because you can iterate quickly and you can iterate things first with a paper prototype. So once, you know, like once you get into a design tool, you tend to overthink things. And so you want things to be um, more refined and to look nicely and whatnot. But at least with paper prototype, you can just kind of get a quick sketch out there and you can get really creative and test like an idea that maybe you've seen somewhere or maybe that you just thought of that's not really the standard for design. So yeah, it's just a way for you to kind of get like really creative with it. It's also really good for teams because, you know, multiple people can add to the sketch and whatnot, rather than like one person being on a design tool creating screens and then like sharing those screens with everyone else on the team. Like it's just much quicker for everyone to kind of see it drawn on paper. There are a few disadvantages to paper prototyping. Mostly what I've seen is that it can be extra work sometimes. Even though it's a quick way to get ideas out there, again, it's extra work sometimes because you have to actually sit there and draw everything out. And I don't know about you guys, but my drawing skills aren't the best. I'm pretty good at tracing, or you know, I can move things into a design tool and actually like trace the vectors using like a pen tool or something like that. But outside of that, yeah, my drawing skills they're okay. I'd say on a scale of 1 to 10, maybe a 5 or 6. Depending, I can't think of things to draw, but if I see it, I can draw it. I'm more of a visual drawer.
I am that same way.
So see, you get me. You get me. That's exactly how I am. So a lot of times creating a paper prototype can take some extra work because you're trying to get the ideas out there quickly, but maybe your drawing is taking a little bit longer. And like I said, some people get very into paper prototyping and like they actually spend like an exponential amount of time, like actually cutting a hole where like a phone screen would be so that they can move like another piece of paper underneath it to show the screen moving and stuff like that. So yeah, there's a lot that goes into it that can create a lot of extra work. But paper prototypes, again, you typically want to use them early within the design stage. I'd say, again, before you really kind of dive into a design tool so that you can, a lot of times it gives you somewhere to start, you know? So now you've created these sketches and you can see what worked just even on paper. So now you can move them over to a design tool and really start to iterate and make them more high fidelity. And do you guys know what the difference between like low fidelity and high fidelity is? You guys kind of have an idea of those? Like low fidelity just being just very minimum wireframe, so just like boxes. So if you have a screen, you're going to show just like boxes or shapes where like buttons would be, versus high fidelity where you're actually designing like the full buttons, you're adding colors, you're adding the fonts, all of that kind of stuff. But also, okay, so like with paper prototype, you want to use, like I said, try to make it, I would say if you're going to do it, try to make it as cheap as possible. So just like, I would say just printer paper, pen, or marker. I'd avoid using a pencil just because with the pencil, it kind of gives you the flexibility of erasing ideas. And like with paper prototyping, like the main idea of it is to like be as creative as possible, just getting ideas out there. So like using a pen and marker is usually going to be your best bet because you're less likely to go back and restart. Versus like having a pencil where you can continue to erase and like then you'll start to overthink things. Always also with paper prototyping, think mobile first. So try to design things for mobile screens rather than full-on websites and whatnot. Mm-hmm. And also try to, if you're doing a paper prototype, try to focus on like one screen per page. I wouldn't necessarily do like a full page that has like a ton of different screens. Typically you want to do just like one screen at a time. That way, once you kind of get into the testing phase, like if you have someone testing out your prototype, you can ask them a question like, okay, where would you click to create a new account? And like wherever they point to, then you can bring in like the next screen that would follow within the prototype. So you can kind of overlap those with just having a single screen on a piece of paper rather than having an entire like giant piece of paper that has like 5 or 6 different screens on there. It's easier to iterate with just one. So any questions with paper prototyping? Like any kind of questions? Like I said, I use them sometimes whenever, typically the way I use them is when I'm not near my computer. So a lot of times I'll have like my sketchbook with me and I'll just randomly be at like, you know, Buffalo Wild Wings watching a game or something, or at actually an even better example, I'll go to like Starbucks just for a quick coffee and I'll randomly see something that makes me think of a design that I want to add to a project that I'm using. So I'll just sketch it out. It's really easy to do it that way. If I don't have my sketchpad with me, I'll use like my iPhone. Or if I have my iPad with me, I'll use like a quick drawing tool on there to where I can just draw out a quick screen and, you know, sketch out some things. So yeah, anybody have any questions about paper prototyping, when to use them? Are they effective? No questions?
Well, are they effective?
Yeah, I think so. I think more so for the team, like not really anything outside of like your design team. So especially if you're on an actual design team, I think it's really effective just because, you know, as a team, you guys can kind of come together at a table and just draw out some quick ideas, you know, versus a lot of times me, myself, I work solo. And so I use them for myself just to, like, if I'm not near my computer to actually go to a design tool. But outside of that, I'm going to go directly to my design tool. But I'd say for teams, it helps you to iterate ideas really quickly before kind of wasting your time in a design tool, creating a screen and then getting feedback and realizing that something didn't work. And then you have to go back and redesign it, you know, and you have to go through so many different iterations of it. Whereas like, you know, you just created a quick sketch from the beginning, you guys could talk about it and, you know, kind of get everything together for that screen on paper and then move it over to a digital tool. So
yeah,
I think it's
say something like that because I came from art school.
Mm-hmm.
And in art, you sketch first before actually going to high fidelity.
Right.
That's what this would just help you on, just getting the grid right, where to put stuff, and how you really like it before you go on the program and spend your time on it.
Exactly. Especially when you're thinking about like layouts of different elements within a screen. So like whether you're thinking of, okay, maybe this button should go at the bottom or maybe it should go at the top, you know, like you can actually play around with different layouts within a screen just by sketching it out like super quickly, you know.
Aren't you worried about scale? I mean, getting the right size. I mean, what if you're completely off?
I mean, you're less worried about it in a paper prototype. Like mostly with paper prototypes, you're focused on like the functionality of things, you know. Like you're less worried about it looking, correctly, or, the dimensions and stuff like that. That you'll actually like reiterate once you actually go to like a high fidelity design tool. That's when you'll kind of tweak the different sizes of things and whatnot. But mostly with a paper prototype, you're just you're focused more so on like the functionality of things, or like
right,
the
cool.
flow.
Cool. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I know for myself, I'm someone who often has like a notebook with me.
Mm-hmm.
I have more of an artistic background, but also some experience with like sewing costumes and stuff. And a big thing I've always done is like if I get an idea, I like need to sketch it down somewhere. And sometimes I think for because this is about functionality, and I think in a way, like, yes, you can picture things in your minds to some degree, but I do see this being really helpful for being like, okay, like, how does this actually lay out? How does it actually work? And having that visual being really helpful, especially in like a quick on the go manner.
Yeah, it's just a quick way to get things going before you just sit down and really like dive into it, Again, like I said, most of the time it's going to be at the early stages of a design. I'd worry a little less with paper prototyping, like once you actually have like a full design together for certain screens and whatnot. So let's say you have like an entire app laid out already. The only time I would use a paper prototype once you already have an app or some type of design is if you're going to look to add like a new feature. And so you can, quickly just reiterate what this feature would look like if it were, inside of this app. That's the only time I would worry about it outside of like just the early stages. But mostly in your early stages, it's just good to just quickly sketch things out and then boom, jump right into the design tool. So again, I don't really want to do like a paper and pen design just because it'll be like wonky trying to show my camera, like aim it down at paper and then also talk at the same time and whatnot. So I'm going to actually get into an example. You guys feel free to like follow along or just pay attention and, whatever helps you kind of digest information. But I'm going to do it through inVision. So inVision has this tool called Freehand that literally it turns your cursor into like a marker and you can like sketch things out quickly. So let me share my screen. Okay. So I'm going to pull up inVision here. And so inside of inVision, I'm just going to click the plus sign here and it's going to ask like, do I want to create a prototype, a freehand, or a board? So I'm going to do a new freehand.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Do you think as UX designers and then eventually even specializing in UI that it would be worth it to invest in a tablet?
Like an iPad or something like that?
Right, to be able to do quick sketches or just work?
It depends. It depends on like really what you want to, like the type of use you want to get out of it. For just sketching out ideas, I mean, it's just much cheaper to just go grab, pen and paper. I mean, if you already have an iPad, it's really, it can be very helpful because you can actually keep them in one place. Like, you can keep them in your cloud or wherever, and always have access to them without losing them quickly, because I lose my sketch pad a lot. But well, not lose it, I misplace it. But yeah, it really just depends on what all you want to do with it. So like if you're looking to create sketches, but then also Maybe you want to get into like illustrations also, to where you can add like illustrations to some of your designs for web or mobile. I think that's a really good use of having a tablet. Also, just to have an example of like what apps look like on a tablet view versus like just having a phone. I think that's another advantage of actually having one, because things do look a little different on like, you know, a tablet versus a phone or versus a desktop or any other type of device. So a lot of times it's good to kind of have an idea of like what certain apps already look like on in tablet view. But I mean, just for sketches, maybe. I hope that answered your question. I mean, I'm not one that'll just say, go get a tablet just to create sketches, you know? Definitely, there are cheaper alternatives out there. But yeah, so this is inVision Freehand. So up here, you'll notice you have like your pointer where you can click on certain things. Then you have your pencil tool. You have text. You can add images, and you can also erase. And so like literally you can draw, you know, anything. Clear that. If you hold down Option, I believe it will actually create a square or a circle just based on like how far you drag out. So if I hold down Option or Alt, I think if you're on a Windows computer and start here and just move it like that, I can actually create like a square. Or if I hold down Option and draw a circle, it'll kind of make it more perfect and not like that.
Now, is this collaborative? Can you all? Time?
Yeah, it is, I believe. I think you can actually like you can share it with other people and then they can join in, and I think you can have like multiple like pointers and whatnot in one artboard. So it's pretty cool.
That is.
So, okay, hold on. I'm going to delete these and I'm going to actually grab an iPhone screen here just so I can kind of be more accurate. And I'll drop this in the into the Slack channel for you guys also. So it may help you with your assignment today. But basically I'm going to do that just so I can kind of draw a more accurate screen. And then I can move it out of the way. So we have our screen here. I'm gonna actually change the color of it. I think if you click, oh man, I forgot how to edit the color. Oh, they changed this because it used to be, everything used to be on the left-hand side. Now it's at the top. And maybe there's no way to change the color now. Anyway, whatever. We'll keep it green for now. And so I'm going to add text here. So we're going to create, we're going to use Flutter. And so we'll create like a quick, with this, we're going to create a flow for like, for a mobile number sign in. So you know how when you're first joining an app, sometimes you can sign in using your email or, you know, continuing with Facebook or something like that. This one is going to ask for like your mobile number. And so we'll write in another text that says enter mobile number for your account. Then we'll add a little box here. And then add their mobile number, and then we'll add Add a circle. That doesn't look like an arrow. Let's try this arrow one more time.
We get the
Close
general
enough.
idea.
You guys get you get that that's an arrow.
Just a bit.
To continue. And we'll say mobile number. And we'll add in one more thing that says, we'll send you a text. So this is our first screen. So from there, I'm actually just going to click on the box here, like our actual screen outline, and I'm going to hold down Option to copy it. And I'll do the same with the flutter here. Again, I'm just holding down Option. This copies it over. And we'll draw another box here. And then, oops. Do another circle. Man, I'm so glad they correct my circles because I can draw some pretty horrible circles. I mean, it's the mouse. It's not me, I promise. Mobile number, and then we'll add another. Oh, that's much better. And then we'll also add in a quick line here for them to start to type their number. And then we'll draw like an area for the actual number pad. And so I'm just going to draw one, and then I'm going to Option hold. And then we'll type in a 1. So I'm just basically typing in the numbers here. So this is to let the user know that that this is their keypad. Okay, so we have this part done. So now let's move on to the next screen that the user will see. So again, this is a digital way to do a paper prototype. This is just through inVision, but I mean, in a traditional paper prototype, you guys would actually use pen and paper to draw these quick screens out. And it's okay to actually have like text in them too. Like I said, they're still pretty low fidelity. Like we're not actually adding color to the boxes or anything like that. We just want to have something mocked up quickly here. So that a user knows where to go to sign in. And so let's say they type in their number. Oh, forgot to add this part. So now they type in their number and it sends them over to the next screen where we'll send the verification code. So this time we'll say, we just texted you a code. Create another box. Here, we'll say, so tell them to enter the code to sign in, and we'll give them an option to resend the code. Here. And so we'll draw another well, actually, let's see if I can grab these. Grab our number pad here. Move this part up. Actually, I'm going to delete that. I think I can make that line straighter. I think if you hold down Shift, it actually does like a straight line. I believe, now I know Apple, I don't know if Android has this yet, but I know Apple has like the whole like from messages. You can now just copy the codes like directly from your messages now. Okay, so we have that part done now. I'm actually just going to take this whole thing, hold down Option, and copy it over. And so now we'll add our text. So the user has put in that information. And we'll come to our last part. So here, so yeah, so now we have a quick paper prototype, well, paper sketch so far of just a quick login or sign in with a mobile number. Any questions about the or about the screens that I have sketched out here, or using inVision freehand?
I had one quick question. So I understand the exercise in what you did and you showed each step. However, I feel like this is so, at this point, so repetitive. Almost every app is going to have these steps. So why do we bother sort of redrawing them for our app? I mean, it's just so standard now.
Right. Yeah. I mean, for this example, yeah. But sometimes, so a lot of people still haven't moved towards having the mobile number. And so let's say your app only had the option to sign in with Facebook or sign in with Google, but you wanted to test out, you know, having the mobile number. But let's say your target audience is over the age of 50. And so you want to test with them to make sure that it's kind of understood that they know how to, sign in with their mobile number versus, like people who are younger who already know how to do this because pretty much every app has this now, right?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe you want to test it with like an older crowd to make sure that they understand it and that it's easier for them before you actually implement it into your app. For this example.
So sorry. So we show these prototypes to actual like people and get their opinions on them. I thought it was just within a team to help us design.
Yeah. So it's definitely for the team, just for the design. But yeah, you can actually take these and like actually test them out. Like, and maybe it's still a member of your team that's not on the design team. Maybe they're with like marketing or accounting, and they kind of fit that age range that you're wanting to test for. And so you can bring the paper prototypes to them and just kind of have them go through just as a quick iteration before you actually jump into a design tool.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
And like I said, this was just a quick example, just because I can get this screen out there quickly, for any other type of app or whatever. Yeah, you may not focus on something. So, something that you're used to seeing, like the login screen, but maybe you will. Like I said, it just depends on the audience that you may be designing for. And even for
that's what my question was. I mean, this is a class example, I get it, but in actual work, are you really prototyping such basic functionality?
Honestly, yes. I actually had to. I didn't do it. I didn't do this in a paper prototype, but I had to do this with a developer that I worked with, just because they get what it looks like in some apps, but like, as for a developer, they're going to need to see every screen anyway to build it. And so just kind of quickly going through with them, like, okay, we want the user to be able to click here. Once they click inside of the field, it brings up the keypad. Once they type the number in, it sends them the code, and, just basically going through with them step by step. Because to a developer, they don't think these steps out. They just think, all right, I'm ready to build. So why not just go straight from this and already have the keypad up there, and then like maybe go, directly to the sign it. You know what I mean? Like being able to show those steps laid out also helps your team to understand like why you need each one of these screens.
All right, thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. 'Cause actually what I learned from working with a developer recently is that working this way, like working with like a mobile phone sign-in, actually keeps less data for the company. So they don't actually have to like hold any like usernames or passwords and stuff like that, because all of that has to be stored somewhere in like your servers and whatnot. And again, those can get hacked and lost, and people can get their information. So it's actually kind of a better function to go with like just mobile number, because you don't collect any of the user's actual like information from this. That's just a side note. Any other questions with creating paper prototypes? So I'm now going to take these screens and actually open them up in a prototype to show you guys, like, going over to the next screen and whatnot. So with inVision, unfortunately, when you do a freehand, like there's no way to take these screens, like you can't export these screens directly out, unfortunately. So my like little hack that I do is I just take a screenshot of each screen. So we'll have that screen. Take that screen. And so I'm taking screenshots because with inVision, you have to upload like each screen into the prototype. So hold on, let me make sure I have the right screens here. I'm just going to rename them. So this is screen 1. Screen 2. Screen 3. Let me grab the last 3. And also I'm on my Mac, so I'm just hitting Command Shift 4 to create like the screenshot. Screen 4. Screen 5. Screen 6. So now that I have all of those there, I can go back to my projects and actually create a prototype now. So create a new prototype. We'll do it on iPhone 10 since that's mostly what the screens are made for. That we just created, and we'll call it Flutter. And so now with this, you can just drag and drop the screens inside of here.
Do you know of any places where you can find like the different screen sizes by model?
What do you mean exactly?
So you know that in most of the software that gives you the iPhone X, XS, XR,
Mm-hmm.
all that stuff,
Mm-hmm.
never like Samsung, all of the numbers, Samsung Notes, stuff like that.
Yeah, that's up to the developers of the design tool, which ones that they want to design for. Typically, they're going to pick like the most popular screen sizes, which are usually the ones that iPhone has and maybe a Samsung, whatever the latest Galaxy and Google Pixels are. Those are usually going to be the main screen sizes that they'll create, that they'll actually create artboards for. But like you can sometimes find out through like the developers of those other phones. Like let's say you're trying to design for like a OnePlus or something, like strictly for like a OnePlus or Xiaomi, like one of their phones or something like that. You can find out what their dimensions are and just create a custom artboard just for those screens.
Just kind of annoying going through all the process.
Yeah, I mean, typically most companies want to design for iOS first anyway. So that's typically why you're going to see all of those on there. And some companies will go towards like Android and stuff later and whatnot. Designing for Android is really hard just because there's so many Android devices out there. And so you have to keep in mind almost all of those screen sizes, or at least most of them, Okay, so we have our screens in here. And so I'm going to go into build mode. So here's, actually, I'm going to hit the settings here, and I'm going to say my design starts below the status bar. I'm going to save. Have you guys seen inVision, the prototype here before? Yes, you guys check this out. So you kind of know like the different touch points and whatnot. So basically this is what a developer will see later on. Like once you actually have high fidelity mockups, you'll put them into inVision and they can actually go into inspect, and they can inspect the different sizes of your buttons. They can inspect the text, they can inspect colors, like all of that different stuff. So let's go into build mode, and we'll say user clicks here, and this will take them to screen 2. From screen 2, they'll type in their number, And so once they type in their number, they'll tap here to go. This will take them to screen 3. Screen 3, we'll have them just tap again. Take them to screen 4. Screen 4, they'll type in the code, which will take them to screen 5. And screen 5, actually looks like I forgot to put a button for them to click to go to the finish screen. Which again, that's where prototyping comes in handy, because especially quick sketches like this, because that's when you realize that you made a mistake like that and forgot to even give the user a button to tap to finish the process. So for this one, let's just pretend like the button is here on the right-hand side, and that will take them to the final screen. And so going back to screen 1, we can go to preview. And so user taps there, their number's in there. They click go, they click in here to put in their number, and then they tap in this area to finish. So a quick prototype. Again, this is something that can be shared with the team. You can go through to make sure that everyone understands that those are the steps, or maybe there need to be different steps, or different buttons that help the user to kind of guide them through this flow. The big thing with paper prototypes is to think out the process. Like, that's more so what you want to think about, like the functionality. You don't really want to pay attention to the design itself. You just want to make sure that what you're putting on the paper is understandable for your users. So think through the process of like this sign in, like the steps that you would go through just for that one flow. So again, that's what I was saying. Like, if this were on paper, you do each one of these screens on a separate sheet of paper, but that one flow would be all that you would design for. So you want to design for like one flow. You don't want to take the user into too many different areas. Like, you don't want to take them from the end to like a home screen and then have them go do other things. You want them to focus on one flow. So for this, it's just the sign in flow. Does that make sense? Like, you want to have them like focus particularly on like one streamlined flow. And we could have included like a home page before this that had like, sign in with mobile number or sign in with Facebook, and then had like 2 separate flows. So one flow would take them into this one if they select to do their mobile number, and another flow could take them into the Facebook sign in process as another flow. And those would be, of course, like 2 separate user flows that you could map out using paper prototypes.
So I have a quick question.
Mm-hmm.
Every button you click on takes you on a user flow. So when you're showing this to the developer, do you have a user flow like this for every single thing on your website? Like, if you the menu button, and then you have like 10 options on the menu button. So each one of them would have its own like thing?
Eventually, yes. Like, that's kind of the end process of like the full build. And you may not necessarily show this throughout like an actual prototype like this. What you'll do is kind of use like, just your journey maps, or create like user flow maps to let them know like, okay, this is where you go when a user taps here. This is where you go when a user taps here, and show them all the different possibilities. And you'll have like each one of those screens like designed out. That's in like the final project. But, building up to that, you'll kind of build out each step as you go.
Okay, so we do this one first, and then we do the whole flow that we've been doing earlier.
Eventually, yeah. So you'll start out pretty much small. Like it's kind of like a puzzle. Like, you know, you're building different pieces to come together to like see the whole thing.
Okay. How long does it take? Because that sounds like it's going to take weeks.
And are you saying like job wise, like how long does this take?
Like how, when they give you something to design, if we're gonna do like a flow and a map for everything, isn't that gonna take like a really long time? Like, what are the expectations? Do they take months or? Yes,
they can. It depends on what you're designing for. So it depends on if you're just designing maybe like a new feature. So like, let's say that like for this example, let's say you didn't have this feature where a user could use their mobile number. So you would focus on this feature, and this feature alone, even though it's very simple, it could take, you know, a month or two just to implement just this, because you want to make sure from the design side that you have every use case thought out, make sure that the flow itself makes sense for the users. And once everything makes sense, that's when, you'll have it designed out in the design tool. You'll probably have a prototype associated with it. And then you'll have like the developer handoff where they start to build it. So yeah, you're building an app from the ground up, that can take months to a year or years, but typically with the company, they'll ask for what they call the MVP, so the most viable product. And so they want whatever they can get into the user's hands first. So whatever makes your app usable. And maybe you have to cut out some of the features from the beginning and just slowly implement new features into the app, like as you go, or website.
Okay, great. Thank
really,
you.
like, I mean, if you look at any app, like they're constantly adding new features because, these features alone just take so long to build. And depending on how big the team is, that will determine like how long it could take. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, it did. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. So one of the teams that I work for, I'm the only designer for the team. And so one of the latest features, so I'm helping them to build an email app. It's an AI powered email app. And like one of the new features is just having an Outlook sign in. So we've only worked under Gmail, and now they want to implement Outlook, and which is really just putting in a few buttons and kind of having like a different flow for the users. But the design alone took about 2 or 3 months, and the implementation is taking the developers a few months as well. So some of it can be very time consuming, but it's worth it to see the product come to life. Any other questions about this prototype or creating quick prototypes using paper prototyping? Again, this was like a digital way to create a paper prototype, but most of the time, each one of these screens, you'll have them, hold on, I'm trying to go back. So each one of these screens, again, like you'd have on like a separate sheet of paper. If this were a traditional paper prototype, you have each one of these on a separate piece of paper. And then as the user like taps, like, so once you get to the testing phase, so let's say you're testing with some teammates or someone else within the company, you'll just have them go through the flow. So you'll tell them that this is a sign up page and that the objective is for the user to enter their mobile number to sign in, and ask them how would they go through the flow. And so they would just, point with their actual finger where they would click, and then you put the next piece of paper on top or the next piece of paper and continue to go until they finished. It's pretty much how you would do it with the actual like traditional paper prototyping. Any other questions? All right. Well, if there are no questions, I'll let you guys take like a quick 5-minute break. And then when we come back, we'll do an in-class assignment that will, where you guys will actually get to kind of practice creating paper prototypes. So let's take like a quick 5-minute break. All right. Okay, so now that everyone is back, or should be back, also, I think it's pretty cool that some of you have like different backgrounds for your background video. Pretty awesome. But okay, so we're gonna actually break you guys into small groups. And so within these groups, I want you guys to focus on your Anchor Cinema app and try to sketch out just a single flow that you may have within the app. So whether it's like a sign-in flow or user being able to purchase a ticket flow or user being able to see movie times, just whichever flow that you want to focus on. I'm gonna break you guys into groups and you guys can either sketch on pieces of paper or you can try to use inVision Freehand, and really just want you guys to kind of consult with one another about like different flows that you could have in the app.
Are we going to be prototyping the Anchor one, or just drawing it up?
No, this is just drawing, just practicing just the paper sketches or paper-like sketches. Okay. Hey, Kyla, are you able to create the breakout rooms? So I'll have to do it. Okay. All right. Let's see if I can.
Is our host.
Okay.
I can try to walk you through it if you need to.
I think I see it. So I guess I just click breakout rooms.
Right.
I think you can, like, there's an option to like say how many people you want in it.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's an auto assign section.
Okay.
Where it auto assigns people, and you could put the TLs in a certain room so that like we don't get assigned to a student. So you can drag people and move them, or like I think you can click on their name and then say move them to this room.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. All right, let's give this a try. I'm gonna automatically assign it. Hopefully it works.
So I would just arrange one room for the TLs and then make sure there's like pairs of 2.
Okay. All right. I think we should have everyone with, so it'll be rooms of 2 with, I think, 1 breakout room of 3. And I'll kind of bounce in the different rooms also just to see if you guys have any questions about creating sketches for your user flows and whatnot, or just any other questions that you may have. So I'm going to go ahead and create the rooms.
All right. I literally need to go. My appointment's at 30 after. I was like, oh crap, look at the time.
Get going.
Look at, I totally spilled coffee on my shirt too. I was like, this is lovely. I'm doing design sprints today for homework. So that's what I was trying to do. And I was like, crap. And then they didn't unlock the doc that they gave us. So the doc's locked, so we can't really have full access to it, and it's due tonight. I've been pinging them all morning and no one has responded. Like the students are like, hey, is the doc getting unlocked so we can see what the assignment is? No one's replied, not even the teacher.
Yeah.
So
Like
kind of weird.
some sort of chaos going on, I think, or something.
I know. It's due tonight too. There's a lot that's due tonight for this sprint thingy. I was like, how are we supposed to do it if we don't know how to do it?
I'm trying to keep it together. My whole left face is numb.
Oh.
Oh, shit.
Oh, Lord.
You had dentist work today?
Yeah.
Yeah. I have
I'm coming back tomorrow.
I hope they don't give me a hard time. Like they gave me a really hard time last week with taking my laptop. This lady was just being really rude. She was just like, why are you on a call? I was like, 'cause I'm working. She was so annoyed at me. She was like, maybe you should schedule your calls at a different time. I was like, I can't, sorry.
Right.
She was so mad. I was like, it's not even affecting you. I don't understand why this is a problem. She made it a huge deal though. So I'm hoping she's not there. Let's hope. But yeah. Anywho, my students were being silly. Hey.
Okay. So does it allow you guys to bounce around into the rooms, or
No, just you.
Actually,
lucky?
We can go back into
I don't
your
know.
room, I think.
I see actually now that I'm here, the breakout rooms, I can join different ones.
I don't see any. You know how like it pops up a window and then has all the breakout rooms and who's in them? It doesn't have that on my screen.
Gotcha.
Because you're recording, right?
Co-host, yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Is it recording us right now?
I think so.